The ultimatum, the message that changed everything. The communication array at Lunar Command had been monitoring deep space frequencies for 3 decades, but nothing had prepared the operators for what they received at 1430 Universal Standard Time. The signal came from beyond the outer rim, transmitted on frequencies that shouldn't have been possible with current technology. Senior Communications Officer Maria Santos stared at her screen, her coffee growing cold as she processed the impossible data streaming across her display. "Admiral Rodriguez, you need to see this immediately." Santos called across the command center, her voice tight with barely controlled tension. Admiral Chen Rodriguez, a veteran of the Mars Liberation Campaign and current head of the Terran Defense Network, crossed the floor with measured steps. At 55, she had seen humanity's rapid expansion into the solar system and beyond, but her weathered face showed concern as she reviewed the transmission data. The message was crystal clear, transmitted in perfect standard English with an undertone of absolute authority that made the hair on the back of Rodriguez's neck stand up. The voice was artificial, clearly synthesized, but carried the weight of untold power behind every word. Attention, primitive species of the third planet, designation Sol3, commonly known as Earth. This is High Chancellor Myrix of the Galactic Sovereignty Council, speaking on behalf of 47 member civilizations spanning this galactic arm. Your unauthorized expansion into the Kepler 442 system constitutes a direct violation of established territorial boundaries as defined by the Galactic Accords of the 2847th cycle. Rodriguez felt her jaw tighten. Kepler 442b was humanity's newest colony, established just 8 months ago after 20 years of terraforming efforts. 3,000 colonists called it home, along with critical agricultural facilities that fed 12 other human settlements. The message continued with cold precision. Your species has exactly 72 standard rotations to withdraw all personnel, infrastructure, and assets from the Kepler system. Failure to comply will result in immediate enforcement action by Council forces. This communication serves as your only warning. Non-compliance will be met with total system sterilization. End transmission. The command center fell silent, except for the gentle hum of electronics. Rodriguez stared at the screen for a long moment, processing the implications. 47 alien civilizations, a galactic government humanity had never heard of, and they were threatening to destroy an entire star system because humans had the audacity to build a farm. Santos, verify the transmission source and run it through every analysis protocol we have, Rodriguez ordered, her voice steady despite the turmoil in her mind. Commander Phillips, I want emergency sessions with Earth's Central Command, the Colonial Authority, and the Science Council within the hour. Humanity's first response through emergency meeting convened in the secure chambers beneath Geneva, where representatives from every major Earth nation and colonial settlement gathered via quantum-encrypted holographic links. President Elena Vasquez of the United Earth Government looked tired, having been pulled from a climate summit to deal with what many still hoped was an elaborate hoax. Let me understand this correctly, President Vasquez said, reviewing the transmitted data on her personal display. An alien government we've never encountered is demanding we abandon our newest colony, threatening to sterilize the entire system. If we refuse, and they've given us exactly 3 days to comply. That's correct, Madam President, Admiral Rodriguez confirmed from her position at Lunar Command. Our analysis confirms the transmission originated from approximately light years away, far beyond our current deep space monitoring capabilities. The technology required to send this message suggests capabilities far exceeding our own. Dr. Sarah Kim, director of the Colonial Science Institute, leaned forward in her chair. Kepler 442b represents 20 years of scientific advancement and resource investment. We've successfully adapted the atmosphere to support Earth-based agriculture. The ecological models alone are worth more than the GDP of most Earth nations. We can't simply abandon it. More importantly, added General Marcus Thompson, head of Colonial Defense Forces, we have 3,000 civilians on that world. Men, women, and children who've made it their home. Even if we wanted to evacuate, we don't have the transport capacity to move everyone in 72 hours. The debate continued for hours, with some advocating for immediate withdrawal and others pushing for defiance. It was Admiral Rodriguez who finally cut through the arguments with a simple question that would define humanity's future among the stars. Has anyone considered that this might be a test? She asked, her voice carrying across the chamber. Think about it. If this galactic council has been monitoring our expansion, they know our capabilities. They know we can't evacuate Kepler 442b in 3 days, so either they're planning genocide or they're trying to determine what kind of species we really are. President Vasquez nodded slowly. What do you recommend, Admiral? Rodriguez stood, her expression hardening with resolve. We respond in a language they'll understand. But first, we need to activate the Shepherd Protocol. A ripple of tension moved through the room. The Shepherd Protocol was humanity's most closely guarded secret, developed during the darkest days of the resource wars when extinction seemed certain. It represented everything humanity had learned about survival, adaptation, and the art of controlled escalation. The secret humanity kept the R. Elizabeth Warren, Chief Science Advisor to the United Earth Government, accessed the classified files that only a handful of people knew existed. The Shepherd Protocol wasn't just a military strategy, it was humanity's insurance policy, developed by the brightest minds from every field over the past 30 years. The Shepherd Protocol assumes that humanity will eventually encounter hostile alien intelligence, Dr. Warren explained to the assembled leaders. It's based on a simple premise. When facing an unknown threat with superior technology, you must demonstrate capabilities they never expected while maintaining the moral high ground. The protocol involved 3 phases. First, diplomatic engagement, with subtle demonstrations of human ingenuity. Second, technological revelation that would force a reassessment of human capabilities. Third, if necessary, overwhelming demonstration of humanity's true potential for both creation and destruction. Admiral Rodriguez had been one of the protocol's original architects. Drawing from her experience in asymmetric warfare during the Martian independence crisis, she understood that raw firepower meant nothing if you couldn't make your opponent believe you were willing to use it, and capable of using it more effectively than they anticipated. Phase 1 begins immediately, Rodriguez announced. We send a diplomatic response that buys us time while demonstrating that we're not the primitive species they assume we are. Santos, draft a response for my approval. The message Earth sent back was a masterpiece of diplomatic precision wrapped in polite defiance. It acknowledged the Council's communication while firmly establishing humanity's right to exist and expand. More importantly, it included technical specifications that would make any advanced civilization pause and reconsider their assumptions. The response included detailed quantum encryption protocols, exotic matter manipulation equations, and most tellingly, precise gravitational measurements of objects that should have been impossible for a primitive species to detect. The message essentially said, "We received your threat. We're not leaving, and by the way, we know exactly where you sent it from." The Council's confusion, 47 light-years away. High Chancellor Myrox reviewed the human response with growing bewilderment. The crystalline chamber that housed the Galactic Sovereignty Council hummed with energy as representatives from dozens of species analyzed the unexpected data. "This is impossible," declared Science Coordinator Zelthera, her tentacles writhing with agitation. "According to our surveys, this species only achieved interplanetary travel 60 Earth years ago. They should not possess knowledge of quantum fold communication or gravitational lensing techniques." Myrox's 6 eyes focused independently on different aspects of the human message. The Galactic Council had encountered thousands of species over the millennia, and they had developed efficient methods for dealing with emerging civilizations. Most species either submitted immediately upon first contact or required minimal force to comply. None had ever responded with mathematical proofs that challenged fundamental assumptions about their technological development. "Perhaps our intelligence was flawed," suggested Military Coordinator Vorthok, his scales shifting color with uncertainty. "The automated probes we sent to monitor their system were limited in their assessment capabilities." "No," Myrox replied, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had guided the Council for over 3 centuries. "Our probes were thorough. This species has accelerated their development beyond all predictive models. The question now is whether this represents a threat or an opportunity." The Council had built their civilization on the principle of controlled expansion and managed species development. When a new intelligence emerged, they either invited them to join the Council under strict guidelines or contained their expansion until they could be properly evaluated. The humans were the first species to respond to containment with what appeared to be confident defiance backed by unexpected capability. "What are your orders, High Chancellor?" asked Coordinator Vorthok, his military instincts already calculating force requirements for various scenarios. Myrox considered the options carefully. The Council's reputation was built on consistent enforcement of their territorial boundaries. However, their long-term success depended on making rational decisions based on accurate threat assessment. The human response suggested they might have seriously underestimated this new species. "Deploy the Third Fleet to the Kepler system," Myrox finally decided, not for immediate engagement, but for close-range reconnaissance. "I want to know exactly what we're dealing with before we commit to any course of action." Humanity's next move, back on Lunar Command. Admiral Rodriguez monitored the quantum communications array as it tracked massive energy signatures moving toward the Kepler system. The alien response was exactly what the Shepard Protocol had predicted. A show of force designed to test human resolve without immediate escalation to violence. "Admiral, we're detecting at least 200 large vessels moving through hyperspace toward Kepler 442, reported Commander Phillips, his voice tight with tension. "Their trajectory and velocity suggests they'll arrive within 18 hours. Rodriguez nodded grimly. Phase 2 of the Shepard Protocol was about to begin, and it would require humanity to reveal capabilities that had been carefully hidden since the first human colonies expanded beyond the solar system. The time for diplomatic niceties was ending, and the real test of human determination was about to begin. "Signal all colonial defense forces," she ordered. "Implement Shepard Protocol Phase 2. It's time to show our new neighbors what humanity learned during our darkest hours." The next 18 hours would determine whether humanity would join the galactic community as equals or be forced to accept subordination to alien authority. Admiral Rodriguez had no intention of accepting the latter. The message delivered operation. Final notice: Admiral Rodriguez stood in the command center of the CNS Defiance, humanity's most advanced warship, as it prepared to demonstrate why Earth had never truly been defenseless. The ship itself was a marvel of human engineering, built using technologies that the Galactic Council would find both familiar and impossibly advanced. Its hull incorporated metamaterials that could shift between states of matter, making it simultaneously the hardest substance known to human science and capable of flowing like liquid when needed. Fleet Status Report. Rodriguez commanded as the Defiance lead a formation of ships that shouldn't have existed according to any alien assessment of human capabilities. All vessels report ready, Admiral, replied Commander Sarah Chen, Rodriguez's operations officer. The Shepherd fleet is maintaining formation at optimal spacing for Phase 2 protocols. Stealth systems are operating at maximum efficiency. The Shepherd fleet consisted of 12 vessels, each representing a different aspect of humanity's hidden technological advancement. Unlike the obvious military vessels humanity displayed for general deterrence, these ships had been constructed in secret facilities scattered throughout the outer system, using resources and knowledge that even most humans didn't know existed. The CNS Defiance led the formation, followed by the scientific vessel Curiosity, which looked like a standard research ship but contained some of humanity's most exotic experimental technologies. The engineering ship Prometheus carried fabrication systems capable of constructing advanced technology from raw materials in real time. 9 other vessels completed the formation, each designed for specific aspects of the demonstration humanity was about to provide. Dr. Martinez. Status on the special packages. Rodriguez asked the fleet's chief science officer, Dr. Isabella Martinez, a quantum physicist who had spent 20 years developing technologies that challenged the fundamental laws of physics, smiled grimly. All devices are ready for deployment, Admiral. I still think this is either going to secure humanity's place in the galaxy or start a war that spans star systems. Let's hope for the former, Rodriguez replied. But we're prepared for the latter. The Galactic Fleet's arrival. The Galactic Council's Third Fleet emerged from hyperspace around Kepler-4 to be with the confidence of a force that had never encountered serious resistance. 200 vessels of various sizes and configurations took up positions around the human colony, their weapons powered but not yet targeted. The fleet represented 7 different species, each contributing their specialized capabilities to what should have been a routine enforcement action. High Admiral Nexus, military commander of the Third Fleet, reviewed the tactical situation from his flagship. The human colony was exactly as the intelligence reports had described, a modest settlement with agricultural facilities and basic infrastructure. The orbital defenses consisted of a few automated platforms that posed no threat to his forces. Scan results confirm initial assessments, reported his tactical officer. Minimal defensive capabilities, no significant weapons systems detected. The colony can be secured with minimal force. What about their fleet? Nexus asked, noting that no human vessels were visible in the system. No military vessels detected in system, Admiral. Our hyperspace monitors show no approaching human forces. It appears they have chosen not to defend this position. Nexus nodded with satisfaction. Most species made the rational choice when faced with overwhelming force. The humans had apparently decided that one colony wasn't worth fighting a galactic government, even if they had initially responded with diplomatic defiance. Open a communication channel to the colony, Nexus ordered. Inform them that they have 6 standard hours to begin evacuation procedures. But before the communication could be sent, something impossible happened. Space itself seemed to ripple around the galactic fleet, and suddenly 12 human vessels appeared where none had been detected moments before. The impossible fleet, the appearance of the human fleet, violated several fundamental principles of physics as understood by Council science. Ships didn't simply appear from nowhere. They emerged from hyperspace, dropped out of faster-than-light travel, or decloaked using known stealth technologies. What the human vessels had done was different, as if they had been existing in a parallel dimension and simply decided to rejoin normal space-time. "How is this possible?" demanded Nexus, his confidence suddenly shaken. "Our sensors showed empty space. Admiral, our science officers are reporting impossible readings." His tactical officer replied, his voice tight with confusion. "The human vessels appear to be using technologies that don't match any known parameters. Their hulls are simultaneously showing characteristics of solid matter, energy fields, and exotic matter states." Admiral Rodriguez opened a communication channel that somehow bypassed all of the Council fleet's security protocols, appearing directly on every ship's main display without any apparent transmission source. "Hi, Admiral Nexus," she said pleasantly, sitting in her command chair with the calm confidence of someone holding all the best cards. "I'm Admiral Rodriguez of the Terran Defense Network. We received your fleet's arrival and thought we should introduce ourselves properly." Nexus stared at the human admiral, trying to process how she knew his name and rank when that information should have been classified. "This system is under Council authority. You will withdraw immediately or face the consequences." "I'm afraid that's not going to happen," Rodriguez replied. "You see, you've made several incorrect assumptions about humanity. First, that we're primitive. Second, that we're defenseless. And third, that we respond well to threats against our families." She gestured to something off-screen, and the space around the Council fleet suddenly filled with what could only be described as impossible objects. They weren't missiles or weapons in any conventional sense. They were geometric shapes that hurt to look at directly. Objects that seemed to exist in more dimensions than space-time should allow. "The demonstration, those objects you're seeing," Rodriguez explained conversationally, "are what we call reality anchors. Each one is capable of locally rewriting the fundamental constants of physics. They're perfectly safe as long as they remain inactive, but once activated, they can do some very interesting things to matter and energy in their immediate vicinity." Dr. Martinez appeared on a secondary screen, her expression scholarly and enthusiastic. "The basic principle involves quantum field manipulation at the Planck scale," she explained as if discussing a routine laboratory experiment. "By creating controlled discontinuities in space-time, we can essentially convince reality that different physical laws apply in localized regions." High Admiral Nexus felt something he hadn't experienced in decades of military service. Genuine fear. "You're bluffing. No species develops such technology without guidance from the Council." "Computer, activate reality. Anchor 17, Rodriguez said calmly. "Target that uninhabited asteroid at coordinates 127.3 by 89.7. One of the impossible objects pulsed with light that existed in colors that shouldn't have been visible. The targeted asteroid, a rock roughly the size of a city, simply stopped existing. Not destroyed, not vaporized. It simply ceased to be, as if it had never existed in the first place. That was set to localized temporal negation," Dr. Martinez explained helpfully. The asteroid now never existed in this timeline. If you check your navigational charts, you'll find they've automatically updated to show empty space where it used to be. The Council fleet's sensors confirmed the impossible. Their historical records showed no asteroid had ever existed at those coordinates, even though they had all observed it moments before. Of course, that's just one setting, Rodriguez continued. We have anchors configured for gravitational manipulation, matter-state transitions, and localized physics revision. The one I find most interesting creates zones where the speed of light is variable. Imagine trying to coordinate fleet actions. When some of your ships are experiencing time dilation while others are moving through space, where causality runs backward. The true revelation High Admiral Nexus realized he was facing something unprecedented in Council history. The humans weren't just technologically advanced, they were using principles of science that the Council had never even theorized. More disturbing was the calm, almost casual way they were demonstrating capabilities that could reshape reality itself. "What do you want?" he asked, his military pragmatism overriding his shock. "Nothing complicated," Rodriguez replied. "We want to be left alone to develop as we choose. We want recognition that human space is human space, and we want to establish normal diplomatic relations with the Council based on mutual respect rather than threats. And if the Council refuses," Rodriguez's expression hardened slightly, "then we'll be very disappointed. You see, Admiral, humanity spent most of our history fighting each other. We got very good at it. When we finally stopped fighting ourselves, we had a lot of very creative, very intelligent people with nothing to do. So we asked them a simple question. What would you build if you didn't have to worry about ethics committees, environmental impact, or public safety?" She gestured to the reality anchors surrounding the Council fleet. These devices represent about 15% of their more practical suggestions. The other 85% were too dangerous to actually construct. Dr. Martinez added cheerfully, "Though we did build prototypes. For research purposes, you understand. They're safely stored in pocket dimensions where they can't accidentally end the universe." The resolution the standoff continued for 6 hours, during which the Council fleet science officers confirmed that the human technology was both real and far beyond their ability to counter. More importantly, analysis of the humans' behavior patterns suggested they were genuinely committed to peaceful coexistence, but absolutely unwilling to submit to external authority. High Admiral Nexus made the decision that would reshape galactic politics for centuries to come. He opened a direct communication channel to the Galactic Council's central chambers, bypassing normal command structures. "High Chancellor, Myrax, this is Admiral Nexus. I'm recommending immediate revision of our assessment regarding the human species. They are not suitable for containment protocols, and any attempt at enforcement action would result in unacceptable losses to Council forces." The response came quickly. "Explain your assessment, Admiral. They have demonstrated technological capabilities that exceed our current understanding of physics. More importantly, they appear to have developed these technologies independently, without any external guidance. Our intelligence reports were catastrophically inadequate." There was a long pause before Myrox responded. "Are you recommending we grant them equal status within the Council?" "I'm recommending we treat them as what they clearly are, a fully developed galactic civilization that happened to achieve advancement through different methods than we expected. They're offering normal diplomatic relations, which is more generous than they need to be given their apparent capabilities." The new beginning Admiral Rodriguez received the Council's response 3 hours later. The Galactic Sovereignty Council. formally recognized humanity's territorial claims and extended an invitation for diplomatic negotiations to establish formal relations between human space and Council territories. Dr. Martinez Rodriguez said as the reality anchors were safely deactivated and stored, "Remind me to send a commendation to the physics team. Their theoretical work just prevented what could have been a very unpleasant war." "Already drafted," Admiral Martinez replied. "I also want to recommend we establish a formal first contact protocol based on today's events. We're likely to encounter other species as we continue expanding, and the Shepherd Protocol proved remarkably effective." Rodriguez nodded, watching as the Council fleet began repositioning into a less threatening formation. "Agreed, and Dr. Martinez, make sure the next version includes even better demonstrations. Today we convinced them we're not primitive. Next time, we might need to convince someone we're not conquerable." As the human fleet prepared to return to their hidden bases, Admiral Rodriguez reflected on humanity's first encounter with galactic civilization. They had proven that humans could stand as equals among the stars, not through aggression or conquest, but through the same qualities that had carried them from caves to starships: ingenuity, determination, and the absolute refusal to be told. They couldn't achieve the impossible. The Kepler colony was safe. Humanity's expansion would continue, and the galaxy had just learned that Earth's children were ready to take their place among the stars. Continue, ..